Dr. Umar Johnson believes hip-hop in its 50 years of existence has done nothing for the black community in the bigger landscape of things. He gave a Hustle Over Everything's podcast an in-depth look through his lens of what he thinks about hip-hop in 2024.
What has been the sum benefit to black people of 50 years of hip-hop? Elon Musk got a couple black people on the payroll. That don't mean shit.
Elon Musk didn't come from black. He's not a black person.
My point is, you can get a job from anywhere, whether they black or not.
But now
that's
you're
not
getting a job.
Benefit.
Now black
but
people. But
you're still talking about individualism, bro. A few people. You've been around for 50 years, the most popular music genre in the world, billions and billions of dollars, and all you can tell me about is a few people can get jobs? That's bullshit when you look at the costs that the black community has had to pay for hip-hop. A whole generation, 2-3 generations of black kids growing up thinking the best thing you can do is be a damn gangster. You know how we got the black bourgeoisie? They consider themselves above. They don't have to answer to nobody else.
Right.
They don't care how what they do affects the rest of us. The hip hop community is almost a black bourgeoisie of its own.
Right.
We don't see it as
crazy.
that because they act like they from the hood. But think about it. They're not from the hood no more. They don't live there.
True.
You understand?
Right,
they don't
true,
party
true.
there.
Right.
They damn sure don't spend their money there.
Right.
So if you look at it, the hip hop community is really the new bourgeoisie.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Think about it. They live in white neighborhoods. They all of them send their kids to white schools.
Right.
They only act like they still from the hood to stay relevant to sell their music. Outside of that, they live in white lives.
Kinda like Travis Scott.
That's
They live in white lives. I don't those who claim to identify with the progressive side of hip hop do not hold accountable those who engage in the degenerative form of hip hop. The conscious artists and those who claim that the gangster rap ain't really hip hop, why you ain't saying that to the gangster rappers? Why you ain't going to the BET Awards and saying no more nominations for negative content? If you disrespecting women, if you promoting violence, if you promoting irresponsibility, guess what? No more nominations for you. If that ain't hip hop, why that ain't been done yet? Show me the accountability. Being dominated by mass incarceration, miseducation, gentrification, police extermination, and economic marginalization. And you ain't told me shit yet
that hip hop doing it because it can't.
In 50 years.
It can't.
Bullshit.
That's your job.
Bullshit.
That is your job.
Oh,
you can't
so
put that on hip hop.
Talking bullshit.
You can't put that on hip hop.
All this money.
No.
Nigga who want to defend that shit. Fuck out of here, man. Bullshit. Our kids out here dying. Fucking rappers don't do nothing for us. Where the fucking schools at, man? They ain't built one fucking school.
Well, first off, I think it's important that you listen to this conversation in totality. I clipped a little bit of it. It is fair usage to clip content online. YouTube has gotten a lot looser with those policies versus when I started creating content about 7-8 years ago. I want to steer you in a direction. This is from the good brother Alex. He has a Hustle Over Everything podcast. I'll make sure I put the link to this conversation that they had with Dr. Umar Johnson in the comment section. Mouse Jones was a part of this conversation. Mouse has been in the podcast landscape over the years. If you follow the Brilliant Idiots or you've seen Mouse Jones around in that world, anybody from New York, I know y'all familiar with the name. So Mouse and Umar really went at it, but I do want to make sure we shout out where this content came from. This is not mine. This is Hustle Over Everything. Important conversation. Dr. Umar challenged how important hip hop has been in its 50 years existence. I have thoughts. These are my 2 cents. This is not a you gotta agree with me type of conversation. You have your thoughts. The great thing about conversations is we don't always have to agree. I would tell y'all my perspective. I do believe it's a unique one from a multitude of different arrays. Mouse tried his best to have a conversation with Dr. Umar about how important hip hop has been in its 50 years of existence. His conversation lended itself to going about how many jobs hip hop has produced. And he kind of used podcast, and I didn't play that, but Mouse kind of like centered his conversation around podcasting. I would just say this as a person that's got his bachelor's in journalism, which does not make me a genius, but it does make me somebody that has at least done the work. when y'all start to bring up like podcasting to a man that is intelligent and quick on his feet as a guy like Dr. Umar Johnson, I suggest some of you brothers out there that literally don't know nothing behind the scenes. I'm not saying this is Mouse's journey. It just felt that way from me listening to it. As a person that knows how to shoot, produce, edit, everything. I know how to run a board, a soundboard, engineer, any piece of content that you see more times than not. I've done it. I'm doing it. I would suggest y'all start learning the landscape of content instead of just walking on camera once a week, once a month, once a year, and coming out of the blue saying, I'm a podcaster, I'm a this, I'm a that. Because y'all not really journalists. Y'all just shoot content. Y'all just talk with a camera in front of you and a microphone in front of you. Y'all don't really know the business, because I thought Mouse had a good convo with Dr. Umar. He just didn't say it properly. There are a lot of opportunities for African Americans in the podcast realm that have been produced by hip hop. I don't think Mouse eloquently laid that convo out. Now let's get into what Dr. Umar said. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait for Dr. Umar Johnson to start his school that he's been discussing for years. Once Dr. Umar can begin enrolling students in his school, he 1000% becomes one of the most important African American in the history of this globe. Period. You will not be able to tell the story of African Americans without mentioning Dr. Umar's name. He will no longer be this guy that's known as a speaker, that's maybe somebody that you see on social media time and time again, somebody you may agree with or may not agree with, depending on his take, depending on where you stand. The minute Dr. Umar becomes the first African American man to solely unveil a school that caters to African Americans, that teaches African American history, all these conversations about if, woulda, coulda, shoulda, they go to the back of the bus. Dr. Umar is immediately one of the most important African Americans in the history of this world. And you cannot tell stories without mentioning his name, and he would have the right to pop it any which way he wants to pop it. Cannot wait till he unveils that school, because I believe that it'll add a lot more credence to the conversation that he's trying to have about how hip hop has not done anything positive for African Americans in its 50 years of existence. Cannot wait till that school is open. Dr. Umar has the right to have these conversations. Dr. Umar is thinking overall, overarching, bigger picture when it comes to the amount of money that's being divvied up through this culture. Just watching a show from one of my favorite YouTube channels. It used to be Broadcast Houston. It's now called Surviving My Block. They do a great job of having people in different areas showing different shows. Last night they had a show. It was Kodak Black and Sexy Red. I believe they were in Atlanta, Georgia. And my channel, Surviving My Block, showed you pretty much a sold out show off of Sexy Red and Kodak Black. Their demo is the hood. More times than not, they bringing the hood out. That's a big deal that Sexy Red and Kodak Black, two people that come from nothing, are able to casually sell out State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. It just tells you how much money is open-ended in this realm we call hip-hop nowadays. That wasn't always the case. Selling out an arena show used to be for a select group of artists. You had to be chosen ones damn near to do that. It had to be a 8-month rollout. You had to have this many music videos out, this many singles on the radio. That is something that Sexy Red and Kodak just kind of casually walked into. I know Sexy's been popping it, but no single in the top 10 at this current moment. They just sold out Atlanta. They're going to sell out a few arenas on their tour. There's a lot of money running through hip hop right now. And the man that's going to start a school soon, hopefully, gets the right to say, yo, bruh, with not even a 10th of the resources that most popular artists have, I'm about to open up a school. That's a big deal. When we hear Dr. Umar discuss how disappointed he is in hip hop culture, my only pushback to Dr. Umar would be, you know, there are a lot of jobs that have been divvied out because of hip hop culture. A lot of people are able to provide for their families, but to give Dr. Umar all the credit in the world, still not enough. More can be done. as a person that has benefited from this culture that we're talking about over the last 8 years, as I've had ups and downs in it, let me say this. The stories that are told in hip hop, I will go to my dying of days saying there are no stories like it. You cannot casually go from broke and disgusted and in 3 months' time with one hit record to $5 million up. That is the greatness that is hip hop. You can't do that. You cannot make $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 in 32 minutes worth of work in pretty much most jobs in America. I don't care who you are. There are some great highs to hip hop, but there are some bad lows to the culture that we all love. Some of my greatest moments in my life, I can always link a song to those moments. Some of my worst moments in my life, I can often link a song to those moments. It's not always a hip hop song, but more times than not, if it's not gospel, if it's not R&B, it's for sure hip hop. Some of my greatest places when I'm channeling my fitness journey have been with a hip hop record in my ears. Some of my worst moments in my life when tears are falling down my face have been with a hip hop song playing in my ear. I wish we did a better job of differentiating, and I've been on this for a long time. If you're a long time supporter, y'all know exactly where I'm going with this conversation. I have said for so many years, there needs to be a professional hip hop card. And let me just say this. The reason why I'm using the word hip hop, because I know it's kind of cringe at times. They're starting to flag channels that use the word rap. I think they're starting to get the word rap mixed up with grape. Y'all know what I'm saying there. So I'm using, if you got like the dialect gets, if you got any type of language that maybe teeters to those syllables a little too much, I'm using hip hop because they've been flagging channels and content that uses the word rap a lot. So I'm gonna steer away from it as much as I can. So when we talk about hip hop and to me, what it is becomes to be a professional hip hop artist, I've many years said, yo, bruh, there needs to be something that differentiates, no disrespect, to young bull that's trying to make it out, to the artist that's got 10 years in the game of sweat equity that's been performing city to city. It's no disrespect to the young bull that's been grinding, trying to make it out musically. But what I see a lot of times as somebody that follows this culture to the utmost, I oftentimes see a lot of young bulls that are in the streets who just decide to make rap music versus people that are artists first, and the streets is what I'm trying to leave alone. I'm telling y'all what I see. Until the success gets to a certain point, more times than not, I just see a lot of street dudes that are picking up music and doing their damn best to balance both. Usually streets overrides music. Matter of fact, you hear a lot of artists until they get to that pinnacle of success say, I'm not even a rapper, bro. I'm really in the streets. You hear that a lot today. And I've always wanted there to be a professional card because, like, I look at it like this. Tomorrow, I can go to the gym. I can go to Lifetime Fitness tomorrow and pick up a basketball. I am not a professional hooper. By no means am I now a professional hooper. That is a disrespect to every person that hoops, not just in the NBA. We're not just talking about the LeBron Jameses, the Anthony Edwards, the Steph Currys of the world. That's disrespectful to everybody that's playing professionally overseas in our world. They're professionals. They get paid to do this. Me picking up a ball at Lifetime does not make me a professional hooper. Same thing in hip hop. I wish there was some type of difference between the person that just decided to make music and a professional. I wish there was a music threshold, meaning you got a song on the Hot 100, a album in the top 200, or something that differentiates a person that's trying their best to be a professional artist and somebody that's went over and accomplished that goal. Because right now you got a lot of artists that are taking a lot of slack for people who are not in that world just yet. So when I see somebody pick up a tablet, pick up a phone, and decide to go after music, I'm rooting for them, but we got to differentiate that because too many times you see a story, young bull in Detroit, young rapper in Detroit. young rapper in Memphis, young rapper in Houston, Texas, young rapper in Philadelphia, young rapper in Atlanta, Georgia, young rapper all around our country kills, fighting a charge, RICO case. There's got to be something that differentiates somebody that makes music to a professional rapper, because it's only furthering the bad stigma that hip hop is getting. There's a lot of beautiful things that can be associated with music that me and you love. A lot of people are having a hard time struggling with, this is just a song that may or may not tell somebody's real story. We don't know oftentimes. It sounds believable. Some of it just gotta be true. But as a person that comes from the hood of Memphis and been able to see things in my life that's made me want to steer away from it as much as possible, to be here for me and my family as long as I can, for me, I listen to music, and when I turn it off, that same song that was there with me when I had tears in my eyes, the same song that was with me when I lift my highest weight, the same song that was with me when I had the greatest moment in my life, the saddest moment of my life, that same song that was so instrumental to that moment in my life, when I put them headphones down, that moment in the club, that moment in the car, that moment in my life is done. I've been somebody that's been blessed to be able to turn that off and know the difference. A lot of young bulls in our country have not been able to turn that off. A lot of women in our country have not been able to turn that off, which has created this bad stigma for something so important to our ascension as people. There are just not many ways you can make $100,000 in 30 minutes time. We need as many forms of revenue as possible. We need hip hop music. We need it. We need the stories it tells. We need the revenue that it creates. We need all of it right now. I don't like that negative stigma that hip hop music has. I don't like that Dr. Umar has so much in his conversation, so much leverage, and we've given him, somebody like him, so much to use and have an argument against Mouse Jones at his disposal. Like, we gave him so much, so you can't really argue with him. There's no right or wrong to this conversation, but you know he wasn't speaking all BS. I want your thoughts on this one. That's what I want. I want your thoughts on this conversation. I want your reaction to what I had to say. The question that's straight up and down for you: has hip hop done more good or harm in its 50 years of existence? I just created both sides of the argument for you. I want to know your thoughts. I gave you mine. Time, love, and support. It's what your boy will never take for granted. I'm out. All right, y'all. The NFL season is here. Head over to Underdog Fantasy. Use my promo code FERRO. You can already make your picks for the entire season. Here are some guys that I believe are going to have great years. If your picks are correct, you're going to win a lot of cheese. Use my promo code FERRO. Tell me when you did it. I might even give you a free copy of Madden 25 or NCAA College Football 25.